All right. Hello, everybody. We are live. Live on Facebook, live on Instagram. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, everyone. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for people to join, and then we will get into today's topic. All right. I think we'll just get started and see how we go. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about pain. I'm going to be talking about how we can start to, a bit crazy here. We can start to, renegotiate our relationship with pain so that it can be something, number one, that no longer brings us shame, that no longer makes us feel like we're doing something wrong or we're being punished or that the universe is against us, where we no longer feel that we are victim and that we are trapped and that pain means we can't have what we want or that life can't ever get better or that we are stuck in whatever we're in somehow, or that we require other people to change in a very specific way in order for us to get out of pain, which is a kind of victim mentality. And we can shift into a place where we understand that pain is simply a messenger. It is simply there to let us know that there is a structure for how reality functions. And this structure is completely non-judgmental. It doesn't change for anyone. It's not a punishment. It's not a blessing. That there is only pain because there's a structure. And when we are breaking ourselves against the structure, we feel pain. And when we can look at pain and interact with pain in a way where we no longer see it as a sign that we're doing something wrong, as a sign that we're stuck, or as a sign that someone else is doing something that's keeping us stuck in a place we don't want to be, we can start to look at pain as a tool. Like, how can I look at pain? How can I dissect this pain? How can I understand this pain so that I can change my way of being without making it mean I was wrong before, so I can change my way of being to something that actually feels better. That's all pain is. Pain is simply letting us know that we are believing something that's out of alignment with truth, that is then causing us to act and live in ways that are out of alignment with truth, which are causing us to try to create what we want to create in ways that it's never going to work because that's not the structure. And then allowing us, again, to learn about how the structure actually works, to learn about what we can actually do to find what we want, kind of like an autopsy. We're taking things apart, we're destroying ourselves, we're breaking ourselves against reality. And when we can just look at that and see that as non-judgmental and we're not making a mistake and there's nothing wrong with us, we then will have the freedom to change and to figure out what the pain is and what the structure actually is and how to create what we want within the structure of reality. So it's not about having to give up what we want. It's not about having to give up anything except for our false understandings of how things work. And we have to also understand that a big part of pain is we were taught that reality functions in ways that it doesn't. So that's the first thing. So many of us, we got to understand that our understanding of the universe and our understanding of the way things work didn't come from us. It wasn't that we made a decision that this is how I'm going to believe things are and I'm just wrong and I'm stupid. It's we were taught this. This is how we were trained to interact with and perceive reality. And it's out of alignment with truth. It's not really working for everybody. Everybody who's doing this is in pain, but it's normal. Okay, so to be in pain is normal. To live out of alignment with reality is normal, and to never figure out what reality actually is or why that pain is happening, or to actually get to a place where things get better is normal. Okay, so if you've been in pain for a long time and you've done everything you can do, you've done everything that everyone said to do, you live normal, you live spiritual, you do all the things and it hasn't worked, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Okay? There are just many, many things that we as a humanity do not understand. And the way that we're living is out of alignment with truth. But we don't see that because we think we're in alignment with truth. Okay, so that's the first thing. You were trained. And then the second thing is you were not trained how to use your sense perceptions to figure reality out. And instead, you were trained a whole bunch of other things, different ways of reacting to pain that keep you stuck in it. So it's not your fault. It's just really, really, really not your fault. Your pain is not your fault. And just because you are able to do something about your pain, just because there is things that you can do, there are things that you can do to shift your way of being that will bring you closer into alignment and therefore less in pain, does not mean your pain is your fault. Okay, so much of the time we overtake responsibility, and taking responsibility is a tightrope that we walk. Okay, and I just want to make that very, very clear before we even get started. Just because there are things that you can do to alter your pain, to make it less, to change your life so that you're living in alignment better, does not mean it's your fault that you were living out of alignment. We all live out of alignment. We all are breaking ourselves against reality. That's a part of how we're learning. So pain is a part of this, and it's always going to be a part of this. No matter how on the path of awakening and alignment and being in alignment with true reality you are, there is going to be pain, because there's always going to be things that you're going to expand into that you don't know anything about. That is the growth path. That is the life path. You are always going to be interacting with the unknown. So brushing up against the limits of reality. And there's always going to be parts of you that are breaking yourself against reality to learn about the structure. As you expand into something new, you're always going to be brushing up against new limits that you didn't know were there and that you couldn't have known were there before you tried. So pain is not a failure. And we're going to talk about that more as we go. But to see pain as not a failure, not, oh my God, I'm out of alignment, I'm doing something wrong, I should have known. No, no, no. You couldn't have known. So much of the time, we get into situations where we're in pain and there's no way we could have known beforehand. We weren't supposed to know. We couldn't have known. The way we're learning is through the experience. So pain is not a punishment, and pain does not mean you're stupid, and pain does not mean you're off path. That's another big thing that we're really, really, really going to have to dig into here. That negative experiences that are painful does not mean you're out of alignment and off your path. It could be exactly on your path, exactly what you needed to do and experience to figure out what you needed to figure out in order to create what you want to create. So pain is not a sign that you are failing. Pain is not a sign that you are stupid. Pain is not a sign that you should feel guilty. And we're going to dive into that. So before I go too deep, I just want to say that I am coming from an experience of a very painful life. So I'm not trying to talk about something that I have no experience with. I'm just like every other human who has had a lot of pain in my life. So I was born into a body that was very, very sick and weak. And then my caregivers did not know how to take care of me, and it got sicker and sicker and weaker all through growing up, to the point where I was having stomach aches once or twice a week that left me doubled over in pain. I was basically in chronic pain for my entire life, and that got sequentially worse and worse and worse until I was 14. I was on the couch. I had high blood pressure, high blood sugar. I had a digestive system that just did not work. I was completely doubled over, buckled over in pain, it just was really bad. I had a lung infection that I couldn't get rid of. And then on top of all the physical stuff, I had very, very, very intense sensitivities that I didn't really understand at the time. So I was feeling everyone else's emotions around me. I was feeling everyone else's pain. I was feeling everyone else's physical bodies. So again, all things that I wasn't aware were not normal. And then feeling completely responsible for all of that. So I could feel everyone's pain. I could feel everyone suffering. I could feel everyone was not happy and not in alignment, and I felt like it was my job to fix it. And I couldn't, and I was counseling people and running around like a chicken with my head cut off from day one in my life to, like I say, all the way through till now. I'm just very sensitive and I can feel everybody's everything. So I had that. And then I was also raised by a caregiver who has some compromised mental state. And so I was scapegoated and I was made to feel that I was the cause of everyone's pain and everyone's problems. And I was also shamed for pretty much everything that I am. I was told over and over and over again that pretty much everything about me was wrong. I would come home at night and be crying about how my friends were all in pain and I didn't know what to do to save them, and they were mean to me and they were mean to each other and everything was really hard. And I was told, well, it's you're fucked up, you're weird, you need to stop being this way, and you're ruining my night with your complaining and you're crying, and you need to just be better now because this is irritating me. And all the way to the point where I was told by one of my caregivers, they looked me right in the eyes and said, you're lucky you have me because no one's ever going to love you. and and by the time she said that, I was like, yeah, of course they're not. I'm worth absolutely nothing. So I had mental pain, I had physical pain, I had spiritual pain, I had emotional pain. I was, sent to the guidance counselor in grade 1 because I had so much anxiety. I went through literal stress-induced menopause at 15. So I know a thing or two about being in pain. I know what it's like to be in pain. So, and then now I've also found out that I have a chronic autoimmune condition. So I have been in pain. I know what pain is like. So I'm talking from experience, not from theory. Okay. And I just wanted to connect and to say I'm a normal human, just like everybody else who's had a lot of painful experiences. And I learned this new way of interacting with pain for myself, and it's what saved my life. Okay. So that's pain. That's my pain. That's where I'm coming from. So now let's go to most human beings. When we go through something painful in our lives, have one of 3 reactions, or a combination of these 3 reactions. Okay. The first one is we go into self-blame. What am I doing wrong? Or what's wrong with me that I'm feeling this pain? So especially with anxiety and depression and negative emotions, we don't think, what's off in my environment that I'm reacting to? We don't think, what are the stories that I've been told about myself and about reality that are painful, that I don't know aren't reality, and therefore are causing me all this anxiety and depression? What is out of sync with life that's causing me to feel this way? We think, I have anxiety, I have depression, there's something wrong with me, and I need to fix myself. There's something wrong with me. Sometimes when we feel sick, we think, what did I do wrong? When we have pain in our relationships, when we have pain in our work, when we have pain we go into our addictions, we go into our self-sabotage, we go into our scapegoats. We think, when these things cause us pain or when these things cause other people pain, this is my fault. What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? So there's that, the self-blame. On the flip side, there's the, I'm in pain and I'm going to project it. This is their fault. This is my boss. This is my husband. This is my wife. This is my spouse. This is my sister. This is my parents, the government. My pain is because of someone or something out there, and they need to change and they need to be different. And this pain is being caused by someone or something outside of myself. And I'm just going to find the thing that it is so I can blame it, and hopefully it will change. Or 3, we feel pain and we just automatically go into hopelessness, right? We go into, life is just pain. This is inevitable. There's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing that can ever be done about pain. And this is now just something I'm going to have to deal with, and it's hopeless. Okay, so blaming the self, blaming others, going into complete victim hopelessness. And this is basically, like I say, the 3 ways pretty much all people on the planet Earth right now respond to pain. There's shame, and this is kind of the root of all 3 of those reactions. All right? We go into shame. There's some form of guilt or shame. And we either internalize that shame by blaming ourselves, or we externalize the shame by blaming someone else. Because that's what, I know the term narcissist is thrown around a lot these days. And a deep part of narcissism is feeling like you are so messed up and there's something so deeply and fundamentally wrong with you, but that there's no solution. There's no way to fix that about yourself. There's nothing that can be done about it. So in order to process that shame, in order to deal with that, if I'm in pain and there's something wrong with me, there's nothing that can be done because I'm fundamentally flawed, we go into projection, because if we can make it about something or someone not us, we rescue ourselves from the shame that we have no other way of dealing with. So that's what the narcissistic kind of foundation is. It's deep, deep, deep core shame about who and what we are, that we say, if I own up to this, it's devastating because there's nothing that can be done. It's admitting that I'm fundamentally horrendous, and therefore I have to make it about something else or about someone else. I have to offload it. And so that's the shame that causes us to blame. And then the victim mentality is still shame, right? Like we're helpless, we're hopeless, there's nothing we can do. And if we can start to say, okay, first things first, I'm just going to bring awareness to my specific way of responding to pain. And we're all going to, none of us are going to be exclusively one of these things. We're all going to have a bias towards one of them, right? Most of us are going to be dominantly self-blaming, external blaming, or just helplessness, hopelessness, victim mentality. But there's going to be a mix, right? Sometimes we're going to blame other people. Sometimes we're going to go hopeless. Sometimes we're going to blame ourselves. But we're going to have our dominant way of responding to pain. And like I say, the first step on this path of renegotiating our relationship to pain is just becoming aware of our current relationship with pain. So I would invite everyone right now to just think for yourself, to just consider for yourself, when you experience pain in your life, what is your automatic knee-jerk reaction? Do you blame yourself? Do you look for the world to blame? Or does it send you into a spiral that there's nothing that can be done, and this is a sign that you're being punished, or life is against you, or you're never going to be happy, or you can never have what you want? Just notice. What is your go-to when you are in pain? Okay? So that's the first step. What's your go-to? Which one? 1, 2, or 3? Next, we want to go back and we want to look at our childhood, which is where we were trained in our response to pain. Okay, now, remembering now that this is not about blaming our parents, and this is not about saying, because my parents taught me, or your caregivers, or whoever was an authority figure in your life. It's going to be not necessarily just your caregivers, but it's going to be your caregivers and other authority figures that were in your life that taught you how to react and respond to pain. And now we have to understand that now as an adult, we have power over this. We don't have to keep living this way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this isn't about blaming them. This is about acknowledging the reality of what happened. We have to just acknowledge the reality of what happened. We have to look at how this all happened. We're going to go through these feelings of shame, and we're going to go through these feelings of being angry with our caregivers for teaching us this. And we're going to feel all those feelings, and we have to go through that. We have to process that, all right? But overarchingly, this is how we get to our power, okay? By understanding the root of where we came from, understanding the roots of where our habits came from, understanding the roots of where our patterns came from, feeling the injustice of it all and the pain and the sorrow and the, oh my gosh, I wish I had never been taught this. I wish that they had known better. Why did they do this? They were so horrible. This is so horrible. All of that, we go through that, we process that, so that on the other side of that processing, of that pain, of that emotional turmoil we're going to go through, we find our power. We find that, okay, yeah, all that happened, that was horrible, it was terrible, that's not how I want to live anymore, and I'm an adult now who can now nourish and support and grow myself into a new way of being. Okay, so this is a part of this. Okay, we're gonna get angry. We're gonna feel like we were victimized. We're going to acknowledge all of these parts of self that got trained how to do something that then made our lives terrible. And okay, so the three responses are simply self-blame, rejection, blame projecting outward, or victim mentality, hopelessness. This pain means I can't have what I want and there's nothing I can do about it. Those are the three responses to pain. And we are going to go back to our childhoods where we learned how to have these responses to pain. And again, it was not taught to us like your mom sat you down and said, okay, when you're in pain, you should blame yourself. It's a whole bunch of other, it was all subtle things or not so subtle things, but it's not going to be explicitly stated, this is how you're supposed to react to pain. But we're going to look back on how our parents responded to pain and how our parents responded to us when we were in pain. And that is going to be the root of why you react to pain this way. So this is why I say it's not your fault. You learned how to respond to pain in one of these three ways by your caregivers, okay? And it's not that they're evil people, and it's not that we hate them, and it's not any of these things. They are also unaware. They also didn't know. But you're going to have to grieve that and be upset about it and grieve for yourself and make room for all of the emotions that are going to come up as you kind of cycle through this and learn that you were tricked and that you were trained to do something that was painful. And then on the other side of that, you will find your empowerment and what we can do instead. All right. So looking back on your childhood, when you were in pain and when you expressed pain, and at the same time, when your caregivers were in pain or when they were struggling, when they were having problems, because pain doesn't necessarily mean you're in physical pain. Pain can mean we don't have enough money to make rent. Pain can mean I don't know where the next meal is coming from. Pain can mean I have to go to this job that I hate. Pain can mean watching mom and dad or watching caregivers stay in a marriage they didn't want to be in for the kids, right? Pain is a lot of things. Pain is not necessarily a physical sensation. Pain is anything that we're experiencing where we don't feel free to be ourselves, where we don't feel creative, where we don't feel expansive, where we don't feel in control of our own lives, where we're feeling victimized, where we're feeling stuck and like we have no idea what to do, right? Pain can be problems, just obstacles on our path. I want to shift how I work, but I have no idea how to do it. I don't like where I live, but I don't know how to leave. I am, like I say, I'm in this relationship, but I have no vision for what it could be outside. I'm sick and I don't know what to do about it. My child is sick and I don't know what to do about it. So these pain, again, is anything that we're experiencing where we're feeling trapped and we're feeling victimized and we're feeling discomfort and we're feeling like this is not what I want and it's not the results that I want and I don't know how to make it better. Okay? So when you were in pain or when your caregivers were in pain, let's first look at how were you responded to when you were in pain. Okay, so when you were physically ill, when you cried, when you fell down, when you needed something, like when you were very, very young, and then even moving forward when you were starting to have emotional pain and psychological pain in your early childhood and then into your early teens and all of these, just the life struggles of being a kid, how did your parents respond to you? Did they brush your pain off? Invalidate you? It's not that big of a deal. That's not really that painful. What's wrong with you? I'll show you something that's actually painful. I've been through real stuff, right? Invalidate, brush it off. It's not that big of a deal. So this can kind of be in two ways, right? Like oh, honey, you're fine. You're fine. You're crying. It didn't hurt that bad. Look, I'll just kiss it better. You're fine. Just not making a big deal out of it. Or was it, that's not real pain. I'll tell you about real pain. I'll tell you about what I went through. Or there's kids starving in Africa. You're not really in pain. This isn't such a big deal. Right? So your pain being invalidated, it's not real. Were you blamed? Well, what did you do to deserve it? What are you doing wrong? What did you eat? What did you say? What was wrong with you? Right? Come home, say the teacher yelled at you. Well, what did you do? What did you do to deserve it? What did you do? Yeah? I'm in pain. Well, what did you do wrong? Did they shame you? Like literally. You are horrible. You just did a bad thing. You're in pain, and that's your fault, and you're bad. You're a bad person. You did something wrong, and I'm ashamed of you. Were you taught that your pain was an inconvenience? Oh, I don't have time for this right now. Can you not? We need to not do this right now. I'm not in the mood. I don't have time. I'm busy. Okay? Were you abandoned in your pain? I'm not coming. I'm going to let you cry it out. You figure it out. Well, if you don't know, whatever. Not my job. Or literally just expressing your pain to your caregivers and having them just be kind of stone-faced. Like that they could be physically in the room, physically there with you, but not reacting, not responding. Just kind of nothing. Or were you continually rescued in your pain? Meaning anytime you had something go on, did caregivers swoop in and not let you experience pain? So not allowing you to experience pain, not teaching you anything about why you were in pain or how to get yourself out of pain, but rather just swoop in. They pick you up. You were climbed up on something, you got stuck, they take you down. You were pouring something, it didn't work, they pour it for you. They constantly taking over for you to rescue you from your pain. And then later, oh, you don't like swimming lessons, you can just quit. You are having trouble with this person, I will phone and I will take care of it for you. Constantly being rescued. So you never had to learn how to deal with your pain. And then therefore, if they couldn't do something about it, if you were then in pain and they couldn't rescue you, you're hooped. There's nothing you can do. So I want you to just think back. When you were in pain and you went to your caregivers, what was the reaction? Were you shamed? Were you blamed? Were you abandoned? Or were you rescued? What happened when you went to your caregivers with your pain? And I want you to just really think of this. Because to you, their reaction now might just feel like, duh. Of course they reacted to me like that. It was my fault. I was irritating. I was too much. I needed them to rescue me. How else would I have done it? Of course they abandoned me. They didn't know. Right? It might all seem very obvious to you right now, as though of course they reacted to me like that. And so I want you to really, really dig for what was the reaction that you got when you were in pain. And I want you to compare it to this example of when you're in pain, your caregiver is present with you, validates that you're in pain. Okay, yeah, you fell. That must have hurt, hey? And maybe you're feeling scared, or maybe you're feeling a little bit unsettled. You didn't know that was going to happen. That was shocking for you. I see that. I validate that. It's okay. It's okay what you're feeling. That makes perfect sense. And then I'm going to explain to you. You see, you fell down because you tripped over this rock. You fell on the rock. That's okay. We all fall on rocks. I fall on the rocks sometimes. You're going to fall on rocks a lot of times. It's okay. Because here you go. Now we can just pick ourselves back up. Let's look for the boo-boo. Do you need a Band-Aid? Do you need a kiss? A hug? Are you feeling better? That happened. Okay, we processed it. I let you cry. I validate what you're feeling. I helped you understand why it happened. And now you can just be a little bit more careful when you're running around. And you learn something. That is a healthy response to pain. Validation, processing of the emotions, what happened, and why did it hurt? What did I learn from it? How does it have nothing to do with my value as a human being? And now, what do I know about reality that I didn't know before? That is a healthy response to pain. If our parents had taught us how to react to pain in a way that was going to be beneficial for us, that's how they would have responded to us when we were in pain, when we were sick. Okay, where are you feeling it? What are you feeling? I validate that. I validate the physical part of it. I validate the emotional part of it, and the mental part of it, and the fear, and the confusion, and the why is this happening? I'm going to be here with you. We're going to figure it out together. What did you eat? Maybe you're sensitive to this. That's okay. It's valid. What does your body need to feel better? And maybe it's a complicated thing, and that's okay. We're going to figure it out together. When you were having anxiety, depression, they start to say, okay, how do you feel when you're at school? How do you feel when you're at work? How do you feel when you're around these people? What are the stories you're telling yourself about yourself? What do you believe about you as a human being? What do you believe about life? Okay, and if those things hurt, maybe they're out of alignment with truth. So let's start to look for, well, first, what you believe and why you believe that. And let's validate that you got there. And now, if those beliefs are painful, that means they're not true. So let's start to look for some other things that might be true. Some other ways in which we can interpret what's happening to make it not mean you're horrible or you're unlovable or you can't have what you want or all of these things. And the big thing being, if you're in pain, what's off in the environment? It's not you that's fucked up. You're responding to something that's out of alignment. And this is big part of the reason why most of our parents never responded to pain in a healthy way for us, our pain, because it would have brought up too much shame or fear of I don't know in them, right? Because if you were the sensitive child who was anxious and depressed, and that anxiety and depression meant there's something wrong in the household, that's too much. We would rather make it there's something wrong with the kid. You see? We're fine. We're doing everything normal. We're normal. This is all normal. This is fine. It's the kid that's messed up. The kid on drugs is the problem child. No, that's the barometer child. There's something out of alignment in the household, and the kid is responding. So that would have been a healthy reaction. So did your parents respond to you like that? And if not, they taught you how to respond to pain in a way that was counter to what is true in reality. So I want you to consider again, how did your parents react and respond to you when you were in pain? Or the other one was, did they freak out with you? That's another really big one. You come to them in pain, they also don't know what to do. They're also deer in the headlights. You are dependent upon them for everything. They are your gods. They are the providers. They are everything to you. You don't know any other way of living outside of depending everything upon them. And then you bring them your pain, you bring them your problem, and they freak out with you. They melt down with you. They have no idea what to do and kind of check out or abandon or panic, that it was going to be incredibly traumatizing for you. Because if they don't have the answer, if they can't figure it out, if they can't be okay, then you definitely can't be okay. All right? And so as children, we also have to understand, again, and I've talked about this a lot, that we didn't have control over our environment. We didn't have control over our circumstances. We didn't have the power to discern, why am I in pain? What's causing the pain? Change something about that, and therefore feel better. We had caregivers who were supposed to do that for us because we didn't have the capacity to understand ourselves, to understand our needs, to get our needs met, to remedy our own pain by understanding why it was happening. That was our caregiver's job. So if they didn't do that, right, we were then trapped in pain. And this is why so many of us live now very codependently, where we feel that the behavior of others and how other people think about us and approve of us or don't approve of us or any of these things is fundamental to our experience. Because we learned in childhood, I don't have control over my actual circumstances. I don't have control over my happiness. I don't have control over my needs getting met or not. I only have control over my way of being that then stimulates my caregivers to meet my needs or not. So all of us learned how to make pain our fault as a way of trying to take responsibility and power. Okay, so these are all childlike ways. All three of these reactions, blaming the self, blaming someone outside of us, or going into victim mentality, are the inner child's way of dealing with pain. Okay, because the child can't figure out what the pain is, and the child has no control over the circumstances, right? We are in a household and we are victim to what our parents are feeding us. We're victim to the stuff that's on the TV. We're victim to their relationship. We're victim to the way that they live. We're victim to the schools they send us to. We don't have control over anything. So if we're in pain because of any of those things, we don't have the capacity to figure that out for ourselves, and we don't have the capacity to change it. All we have the capacity to do is cry out and hope that mom and dad will understand and change it for us. And then when they don't, we get traumatized. We get stuck in that nervous system red that I'm constantly talking about. So you can go on my YouTube channel and watch all my videos on the nervous system and why this is the way that it is, why we are all traumatized and stuck in our childhood reactions of there's something wrong with me that I have to change, there's something wrong with them and they need to change, or there's just nothing we can do. Because that's how pain is for a child. Okay? That is what pain is for a child. If mom and dad don't rescue me, I can't rescue myself. If I make it something wrong with me and I change myself, maybe they'll rescue me. If I blame them, shame them, get them to understand that they are the problem, they will change it for me. And if neither of those two things can happen, if mom and dad can't understand, pain can't go away. So we get in pain, and especially if we watched our parents, especially with their own pain and our pain, right? If we watched our parents not be able to deal with things, not be able to figure out why they were in pain or why we were in pain and not be able to fix it, we watch them freak out with us, and now we're just in this shitty situation where none of us know what to do. That is where the victim mentality comes from. We learned that there's nothing we can do about pain through our parents not being able to do anything about pain. When we blame and shame ourselves, we learned that when I'm in pain and I express it, it hurts my parents, so there's something wrong with me. They shame me, there's something wrong with me. They blame me, there's something wrong with me. They don't know what to do. So maybe if I'm just different, maybe if I'm just happier, maybe if I'm just some other way, they will meet my need. Maybe they're not doing it because they don't like me. They don't like my behavior. Maybe if I change my behavior, they will meet my need and they will understand me and they will get me. So that's the self-blame. And then the externalizing blame of I'm just going to keep crying out. I'm going to keep temper tantrum. I'm going to throw a fit. I'm going to I'm going to act out and I'm going to get on drugs. I'm going to self-abuse. I'm going to do all of these things of acting out to try to get them to frickin' understand and to do what they need to do to fix this for me. So these are the 3 childlike ways that we respond to pain and why we do it. Because that was internalized. Okay, so again, we do this because in all 3 situations, we were in pain and it didn't get remedied. And that is what trauma is. Okay, we all experience pain in our childhood. It doesn't always turn into a trauma. Why? Because when we are allowed to process our pain, and what processing is what I described earlier in the video. Validation, feeling how it feels, understanding why it was painful, what happened, what did I expect, and what actually happened, what went on, why did that pain get caused. Now I understand the pain, and I can alter my behavior to avoid that pain in the future, or to create what I wanted to create. So another pain can be, I'm trying to pour water from this glass into a bowl, and I don't know how that works, and I spill it all over the floor. That's pain already for the kid. And then if you're shamed for that, oh, you made a huge mess, what's wrong with you, blah, 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 blah. Now, to you, doing the normal life thing, like I said at the beginning of this video, of learning through experimentation, learning through making mistakes, learning through, I'm going to do this. Oh, this is how I thought it would go, and it didn't go that way. Instead, if mom helps you clean it up and then teaches you how to pour, I see what you were trying to do there, so let's try it again, let's try it again, let's try it again until you figure it out. Now you don't have trauma. That pain didn't turn into trauma because it turned into information. Okay? So every pain we've ever gone through that we don't understand why it was like that is now a trauma. And then we're going to re-experience that pain over and over and over again, because we're going to continue to try to create what we were trying to create. We're going to continue to try to grow in the way we were trying to grow. When we ran and fell down, when we poured the water and it spilled everywhere. We're going to continue to do that because that's our next life growth cycle. That's our next step on our path. And there's no skipping steps. So if we got traumatized at a step, we're just going to keep experiencing that trauma over and over again. So this is why, again, we then start to have the same relationships over and over and over again. We have the same physical symptoms that just get worse and worse every year. We have the same problem at work. No matter how many jobs we go to, no matter how many times we switch, we have the same problem with money over and over and over again. That's trauma. That's a pain that happened because we're breaking ourselves against reality that we never processed, we didn't learn from, we don't understand. So we keep trying to create something different, but we can't because we have no new information. We're just doing the same thing over and over again because we didn't learn how to learn from the pain. We didn't get new information that allows us to do something different. So this is why we're trapped in that childhood state. Is this all making sense? That we never learned how to learn from pain. Now we are all stuck in our pain because we're either saying, I'm going to blame myself, I'm going to blame someone else, or I'm just going to say pain just is inevitable and there's nothing I can do about it. Instead of the real answer is, I'm feeling pain. I need to validate. Yep, I'm going to post this to my IGTV and then also to my YouTube channel eventually. Okay, so this is going to be posted. So this is how we get to these places of why we react to pain the way that we do. And like I said, the processing of pain, true processing of pain, is feeling it, validating it, feeling it all the way through. So feeling first. We're going to feel how it feels. And anything that hurts means it's out of alignment with truth. So every belief that we have that feels shitty is out of alignment with truth. Everything we believe about ourselves and about the reality that does not feel freeing, that does not feel light, that doesn't feel like you are then set free to create or try something new or go in a new direction, is out of alignment with truth. Now, again, don't get caught up in thinking that means the opposite is true. That's not necessarily it either. The opposite of what we're thinking is not necessarily the truth either. It's probably some third option you've never thought of. But the way that we find that third option is by feeling our pain, physically letting it run through our bodies, acknowledging where we feel it, how we feel it, what it feels like, what are we going through, and then working on that shame. Okay, so this is the big key that's going to change the game for all of us. We all need to learn how to approach the part of ourselves that goes automatically into shame when we are in pain. So again, remembering, when you're blaming yourself, that is a response to shame. When you're blaming someone else, that is a response to shame. When you go into victim mentality, that is a response to shame. I don't want to admit that this pain could be anyone else's fault. I have to make it my fault, right? That's an attempt at empowering ourselves. If it's my fault, I can change me, I can fix the pain. That's the child perspective. When we go into self-blame, that's the inner child saying, if I change myself, mommy and daddy will love me, and they will take care of me, and they will make this pain go away. And the reason they're not doing it is because I'm doing something that's making them reject me. And because they're rejecting me, they're not saving me. Okay, that's the first thing. That is the root of self-blame. If I make it my fault, I can change myself, which is the one thing I have control over as a child. Mommy and daddy will love me again. And as my rescuers, as my gods, they will rescue me. And then we project that out onto bosses, onto spouses, onto friends, onto other people that become important in our lives. When we become people pleasers, that's where that's coming from. It's you guys are now my web of people that control whether I'm in pain or not. And approval equals provision, right? That's the childlike perspective. Approval equals getting out of pain. Because if mom and dad approve of me, they're going to take care of me. If they don't approve of me, they're not going to take care of me. So when we go into self-blame, that's what we're doing. We're trying to change ourselves, thinking if I change myself enough, mommy and daddy will rescue me from my pain. And so this is why we all fear rejection so much. Because to us, if we're rejected, that means our pain, we're trapped in it. Because then no one's going to rescue us. They're not going to fix it for us. That's why we're doing that. That's the child response of when I'm rejected, I'm not provided for. Okay? Second response, blame. Makes perfect sense. Right? Child cries out when they're in pain. Child acts out. Child just makes it louder and louder and louder and louder until mom and dad have to pay attention. Until mom and dad have to rescue me. If I keep crying, if I keep yelling, if I keep throwing the dish, if I keep doing this, get on drugs, mom and dad have to pay attention at some point. They have to rescue me at some point. And I don't want to have to believe that it's something wrong with me. It's them. Because to believe it's something wrong with me is devastating. Because if it's something wrong with me, I can't fix me. I can't change me. So these are two different responses to realizing if it's something about me that's causing mom and dad to reject me, either that goes the codependent way, okay, I'm going to fix it. I'll change it. I'll be different. Or it goes the narcissist way. Well, there's nothing I can do about me, so it has to be you. It has to be mom and dad. It has to be them. I have to manipulate them into caring about me because I can't change who I am. This is who I am. This is what I am. And if this is not okay, if mom and dad don't love this and don't approve of this, I'm fucked. So blame. I cannot absorb that it might be something wrong with me. Because if it's something wrong with me, I'm fucked. Because I can't change me. Okay? Third response, victim mentality, is we learned that. Hey, Marcus. We learned that through, I went to my parents with pain, and they just freaked out with me. They didn't know either. We all didn't know, and now we're just in pain. And I watched my caregivers just complain. I watched my caregivers just barrel through, just deal with it. just never do anything different, just be in their pain over and over again, just long suffering. So pain is just something we can't do anything about. Do you see how we could develop these reactions based on how our life was as a child? So with all of this, the first main step is acknowledging that root of where your reaction to pain is coming from. Are you blaming yourself because you feel like the only way to get out of pain is to be different and to have someone approve of you and then rescue you? Right? If you're so afraid of rejection, you're so afraid people don't love you, you're so afraid that you're not living up to expectation, that's from that root of these are the people that I need to make me feel better when I feel shitty. And if I'm not approved of by them, they're not going to. And then I'm stuck in my pain forever. Do you blame and project, which is your way of saying, I can't accept responsibility for this. If it's my fault, that means I'm fundamentally flawed. And I can't accept that. It can't be that it's something wrong with me because I can't do anything about me. It has to be someone else. It has to be something else. That pain of accepting that there's something I can do about it means it's my fault and I'm fundamentally messed up and I can't be with that. Or is it, I've never seen anyone get better. I don't know what problem solving looks like. I've never seen any pain get better. I've only ever seen it get worse or get ignored. So if I admit that I'm in pain or if I see that I'm in pain or whatever, that's it. There's nothing I can do. And that's awful. And that's how I feel. So acknowledging that in yourself. And in this first step, so we've actually taken 2 steps already. Realizing what your response is. Looking at how that response was developed. And then the third step is having compassion for that child part of you that is responding to pain like this. That thinks that pain means you're trapped, there's nothing you can do, you never learn to problem solve, and therefore it has to be I change myself, I change someone else, or I just accept that this is pain and this is all I can do. Can we have compassion for that child who is so afraid when they're in pain that it means there's something wrong with them and that no one's going to come to their rescue? Can we have compassion for the child part who didn't get rescued, who didn't get validated in their pain, and who didn't get the tools to learn to deal with pain? This step alone, having compassion for that part of yourself that is so afraid, that is so scared when they are in pain, that something is wrong and there's nothing they can do about it. That is the part, that's the child part that needs to be connected with and needs to be loved into the light. That's really what's coming up. It's that inner child that says, I'm in pain and there's no one around to rescue me and I don't know what to do. So is this all resonating? It's the inner child who's afraid that pain means I'm stuck. There's no one to rescue me. I don't know what to do. That's what this is. We all feel like pain means I don't know what to do. Okay? So we have to have compassion for the fact that we were all traumatized. We all had pain and we didn't learn what it meant or why it was happening or how to move forward with it. So the first step in that processing is validation of the pain. So can you start to validate your pain? That I am feeling pain. This is my reaction. It's not my fault. It's my scared inner child who never learned any other way. Validate your pain and validate your reaction. This is my reaction. I'm going into self-blame. Of course I am. Because I learned that my pain is my fault, and if I change myself, that's the only way to get rescued. It's the only way to get approved of, and it's the only way to get help. If I blame them, eventually they have to take care of me. I've never seen anyone else deal with pain, and therefore when I go into pain, I just feel like that's it, that's the end. Can we have compassion for that inner child? That is the main step, okay? So does anyone have any questions before we close it down? Notice how you respond to pain. Start to look at why that happened. And then start to validate that inner child that feels like if they're not saved and approved of by caregivers, by someone outside of you now, your spouse, your boss, the world at large, that you're stuck in pain forever because you could never figure it out. That was never an option. It was never an option. That pain just means we need to learn something. You never got that. All you got was, if mom and dad don't approve of me, they don't rescue me. If mom and dad don't know how to do anything, I can't do anything about it. Now we're stuck in this forever. Does that make sense? Any questions, comments, concerns? Just validate that child who feels like when there's pain, you're stuck forever. Okay? So that's going to be that. I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope this was helpful. I hope this helped bring some light. Process that. Look at your childhood. Look at your past. Look at how you got to where you are. And then we can start to, like I say, just have compassion for that. That is a huge, huge, huge step on the path. Okay? And then processing. I have lots of tools on my YouTube channel. Check it out. Check out my blog. So it says, how to deal with this when it's not possible to do this work when severing ties with caregivers is not possible. Again, this is an internal thing anyways, right? This is you showing up for you in a new way. You don't need anyone's permission to show up for your own pain, validate your pain, and have compassion for yourself. So even if you're being traumatized by your caregivers currently, you can start to change how you respond to yourself when you are in a painful situation with your caregivers. I see why this is happening. I validate my own experience. I validate my own pain. I validate that this hurts. I validate that I don't like this. I'm not going to blame myself for this anymore. Or I see why I'm blaming myself for this. And I am showing up for me in a new way. Okay, this isn't about anyone showing up for you different, right? That's the child perspective. In order for me to get out of pain, someone else has to be different. The adult perspective is, I start to show up for myself in a new way. I have complete control over myself and how I show up for me. Even if I have my initial response, which I don't have control over, I have control over how I respond to that response. There's always a level where I have control. And then that's the new thing. Is this always done or realized in meditation or in processed emotion or intellectually, like thinking about it? Both, right? I would invite you to go back to my 2 videos about feeling, the last 2 IGTVs that I made. A lot of the time it is going to be done in self-reflection. It's going to be difficult to do it in the moment, but as you practice this, you will start to be able to show up for yourself in the moment in a different way. You'll notice, oh, I'm already going into shame. You won't have to be in pain and be in the spiral and then go into meditation and feel that you're feeling that and all of these things. Like, most of us are so disconnected and distracted and not used to feeling that we were already way down the shame spiral before we even know it, right? So at first it's going to happen in meditation. It's going to happen when you take time. But eventually you're going to get to a place where you become more and more aware and can catch yourself when it's happening. So it's both, if that's the answer. Okay, so that's that. You're all so amazing. You deserve compassion. This is about you showing up for you different, and nothing in your reality needs to change for that to happen. You have complete control over you showing up for yourself different, you doing this work differently. Okay, you responding to your own pain differently. No one else has to change for that. You have the power. Okay, so we're going to end it there so that the video is not too long. Other than that, I love you. I think you're amazing. You can do this. You're perfect. It's not your fault. And you have power. All right? So have a great week. We'll see you next week. Mwah.